Greetings and welcome back to yet another episode of the Daily Run, and today we're playing as Judas, and the first item contains the kidney bean, which I think is a good item in the sense that it's a very novel item, but it's not a good item in terms of its power. I would really like to use it a lot of times just because I really like those items that are kind of fun to use and not so much maybe strong. Like the Book of Belial is obviously the better item, but the only thing it does, it just gives you a damage up, and that's not really fun or interesting. But the ability to kind of make enemies fight for you or fight against the enemies you're fighting against, I feel like it's a very underexplored concept, and I really like the charm effect. It doesn't come up very often except for some items here and there. It doesn't really it doesn't really affect the game how you would expect it to affect it. It doesn't really make the enemies go out for blood to get each other or anything. It's really nice to see it when it actually works and you can see the enemies petting really well, but I feel like most often than not, whenever an enemy is charged, just nothing like that happens, and what ends up happening, maybe they deal like 2 hits of damage to each other and that's it, and then the charm effect is gone. Maybe it would be a better item if it had a longer charge and it would affect every enemy in the room and not just some enemies around you. And I feel like it has some defensive capabilities as well, because when the enemies are charmed and they're coming at you and you fart or release the charm tears, then they go away from you, which is okay, but at the same time, it's not that useful to just be protected from enemies. You really want them, you really want to kill them as fast as possible. Just kind of fending them away for a few seconds is not something that's usually going to help you on a run all that much. There could be, I feel like there is some room for exploration there. Even though it's a bad item, I feel like it could be at least novel to use. And in a way, having charm tears is novel. Maybe the charm effect could be a bit buffed so that the enemies would be more bloodhounded, so to say, so they would be a bit more aggressive towards other enemies when they are charmed. But I'm not sure. We'll see what happens in modding, and when we actually have the tools to kind of explore those mechanics, then we can make our own, and we'll see if maybe we can come up with something more interesting or more fun, at least for me. Than what's currently in the game, at least for the kidney bean, of course. Yeah, so for that reason, of course, we're sticking with Book of Belial, which is the better item. We don't have a lot of HP, so we have to rely on our damage or our weights or our sources of damage to kind of get through these rooms, at least early on. So we don't get left behind too much. Of course, we're hoping for a few spirit hearts, and we got them, thankfully. And we're also hoping for good devil deals, and having Book of Belial just allows you to get that. First of all, of course, you have the damage, so you can deal with rooms a bit better, so you don't get hit. And the second fact is that Book of Belial just increases your devil deal chance for something like 15%. So this boss fight is not just fistula. It's a good boss fight in the sense that I feel like it's very well balanced. At least in this room, you can do some maneuvers. It's never really like you're stuck in a weird corner. I guess it can happen, but it doesn't happen often enough. And I like that this fistula has less HP than the ones on the later floors. And of course, having Book of Belial just allows us to really decimate this enemy just super fast. And I really like the boss because I feel it's not just about how to deal with them or killing them as fast as possible, it's also about dodging. So it's not just about shooting the enemy, you also have to be actively moving around to kind of get in a good position so you don't get stuck and things like that. And with that, we just managed to beat him quite simply, and we're just going through the notions here to try to get as many coins as possible. And I bought the fanny pack in our shop, which is an item that whenever we get hit, gives us a chance to get a certain consumable or a card or anything like that. And there was a blood bank there, and you saw me playing the blood bank quite a few times actually, and I really went hard on it. I decided to sacrifice a lot of spirit hearts in hopes of getting an IV bag, and thankfully I did get it, and I have a lot of hearts. I have the IV bag, which means I can damage myself kind of every time I want to, and that just brings a lot of possibilities with it. Because I have fanny pack, I can generate a lot of consumables that I don't have at this point, like bombs. And another thing is I can also use this to generate more coins because we have Swallowed Penny, and of course we can also use it to dodge damage, and you'll see that on this floor when I'm fighting the boss, how you can actually do that. And another thing is you can also enter curse rooms without sacrificing spirit hearts, so I feel like sacrificing 4 spirit hearts to get a chance of getting an IV bag is worth it in the end, just because it really becomes harder for you to lose spirit hearts when you have the IV bag, because the IV bag prioritizes your red hearts. And you can see in this fight, you can see me using the blood bag there the IV bag to damage myself intentionally. And because the IV bag doesn't give you damage penalty, I can then just go through the creep while I have invisibility frames, and I don't actually get hit by the creep, which means that my damage penalty is not increased or reduced, however you want to look at it. and that's great. I really like the item because it has so many versatile uses. And even in this situation where I only have Spirit Hearts, I'm not afraid to use it. Like in this situation, you saw me use it, and I dodged the attacks again. It's a really good item if you use it well. Here we have a decision: do we stick with Red Hearts because we have the Ivy Bag, so it's good we have Red Hearts, or do we go really hard for Judas' Shadow? And I felt like going for Judas' Shadow is optimally the right choice, and then we can kill ourselves with the Ivy Bag and not, of course, get any more damage penalty. I felt like it was the right decision just because we didn't get any DPS items other than Squeezy up until this point, and I feel like we would be in a very awkward situation if we just didn't do it. I know that we had Red Hearts and we could use the Ivy Bag and then the Cube of Meat to kind of deal our damage passively, or maybe actively because we have to actively use the Cube of Item. But you know what I mean, we don't use our tears to kill enemies, but we use other things we have. So it felt like the right choice to kill ourselves there, to get a bit more coins and of course and get some consumables from Fanny Pack, and then use our Ivy Bag to revive ourselves as Dark Judas and have increased HP and damage and all of that. I mean not HP but damage and tear speed and things like that, so that's great. And you can see this floor, things are going much smoother, and even this shop has Champion Belt, which even further increases our damage, and we have Diplopia, and I just bought Diplopia and used it because it's a way to get a few more consumables. I thought maybe if that card was something like the Joker card, or maybe 2 off cards, then I would have 2 of them, which means I could essentially quadruple whichever consumable that card was, and that would give me a lot of points. So that's the reason why I bought why I use Diplopia there, and I have a way of kind of regenerating those 15 cents. So at this point it's not really about the money, because we can really generate an infinite amount of money if we want to, or if we maybe get some Red Hearts or Spirit Hearts. So it's not too hard for me to kind of waste it, or not waste it, but use it on a chance of getting more points, if that makes sense. Just because we're not really planning on kind of wasting all of our money. I mean, all of our hearts, that's what I meant. We can still afford to use our Ivy Bag sometimes to kind of get to that point. So at this point, we are strong enough. I mean, we are pretty strong, but I feel like we're still not super strong, at least not for something like Boss Rush. And here's the decision we have to make, or the decision how I see it. Do we take the knife and be sure that we're going to be able to do Boss Rush very easily, or do we not take the knife and reroll both of those items and hope to get a shovel? And I think a chance of us getting the shovel from rerolling 2 items is just not high enough, or rather it does not guarantee us not taking the knife, because a knife will always help us. It's a 100% item, right? It's one of those items that will absolutely help us in Boss Rush, while getting the shovel is a very long stretch and something that's not very likely to happen. Here I make a little mistake, because I thought I used Pertro for some reason. I don't use it here, and obviously it would be the right choice because we can reroll 4 items into hopefully something better. And I just end up taking the E. coli, the 30 touch item, which is not a good item at all. So that's just what I stick with it, and whatever. But I should have really used my Pertro there to reroll. But then again, if my decision came to rerolling those items at the end or not rerolling, I don't think it would have made much of a difference in the end if you chose to reroll it there or not. If all my run or my possibilities going further all relied on just that one reroll, then so be it. What can you do about it? I also used the Ivy Bag to damage myself, get invisibility frames, and then pick up the item, which means that we didn't get hit by the spikes, which means our damage penalty is actually very low. I think I got hit 3 or 4 times this whole run, which is obviously very great, at least for me. And the fact that we had this combination of Ivy Bag, which we could use for invisibility frames, is also a great bonus to that. Even so, a lot of people found a way to go further than us, and we can see that our rank is actually not that good, and that's just upsetting. I mean, unfortunate, because some people did find a way to go down, I didn't, and for that I'm much lower. And as you saw, I don't think I could have done anything too differently for us to guarantee to find a way lower. I think I looked at most secret rooms, most second secret rooms, to find Iwa's runes, and they weren't there. And I think I looked at a few secret rooms and we didn't find a shovel in any devil deals, and this is just how this game turns out sometimes. But still, I'm happy with our performance. I think we played well, and that's really what's important, and I had fun. That's even more important. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you next time.